moving the briefings to Tuesdays and Thursdays. We will still try to move the briefings to Tuesdays and Thursdays, but because we knew there was some big news coming out of the province yesterday, we thought it would make more sense for us to spend some time with you today to tell you how the city is responding to the province's plan for reopening, which is, of course, much on our mind, and we will spend a bunch of time on that today. I also want to talk a little about the city's budget position and tell you about a really exciting initiative that is coming out of community action on mental health and addiction during these tough times. So thank you again for being great citizens and for really looking after one another. You'll see that I'm holding in my hands a purple face covering from a Calgary company, Hippo Hug, and we're going to be talking a little bit more about face coverings and what we can do to keep ourselves safe. But the big message here is we're not out of this. This week, we've had days with the highest number of new cases in Calgary. We've had 7 more deaths, I'm sorry to say, since the last time we had a media briefing. So certainly, while we have plateaued, it is not safe to say we have peaked and we are declining. That's not to say that the province was wrong in bringing forward a relaunch plan. In fact, they were right in doing so. And it is a very thoughtful plan. It is very oriented towards information and data, which is something that I really appreciate. Now, certainly there are some squabbles here and there. I perhaps had to spend some time with a provincial official yesterday explaining the difference between massage therapists and body rub practitioners. Don't ask. But talking about how some of those medical services might want to be accelerated with others. I got to tell you that I was surprised when I heard May 14th. And my very first thought was, that is way too early. But then when I listened to what the province was saying and I realized what was actually being said was it could be as early as May 14th if the following things are in place. And those things, I must tell you, are not yet in place. So I don't want people to red circle May 14th on their calendar and say, woohoo, we're good to go. Because even then, even in stage 1, we're not good to go. It is a thoughtful, phased in reopening of a lot of things that are going on. But the thing that I really want to underline, which Deputy Chief Henry will talk much more about, is that our physical distancing and mass gathering restrictions remain in place. You know, groups of more than 15 people, you must stay 2 meters or 6 feet or the length of a full-grown llama apart still. This stuff is still important. And in fact, it's even more critical now because it's our actions over the next 2 weeks that define whether or not we will even get to phase 1 of the reopening. So that's what we're really going to be talking about today. So with that, I'm joined today by Deputy Chief Sue Henry, Deputy Chief of the Calgary Emergency Management Agency. City Manager David Duckworth is also here to answer questions. And I will turn it over to Sue, and then I will come back and talk a little bit about the city budget, as well as about some mental health and addiction work. So Sue, take it away.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to remind citizens that we remain in a state of local emergency, and this is for all of us as we work together to help limit the spread of COVID-19. I have a number of updates for you today, and then I will hand it back to Mayor Nenshi. I know many of you are aware of the Government of Alberta announcements yesterday and have a lot of questions about what that means for the City of Calgary. It's great to hear the province's plan laid out, and I hope what Calgarians take away from this is it's a phased approach and it will only work if we work together to continue to flatten the curve. We need to maintain the progress that we've achieved so far with COVID-19, while at the same time continuing to take care of our mental health, our physical health, and our economy. We must beat this virus. Our storyline and our actions will change from time to time, but we need to remember the why and the why we're here. We have made a lot of sacrifices over the past few months, and we've changed a lot. We know you want to go back to the things that you love to do. I want to go back to those things as well. But now we need to be slow, we need to be methodical, and we need to take a measured approach to this. The normal times will come again, but they will come slowly. We need to have our foot on the gas and the brake at the same time. We still have approximately 67% of the provincial cases that Alberta has, and we need to continue to emphasize the importance of public safety. To be clear, when we talk about the measures, nothing has changed. You still need to maintain your physical distancing. You still need to wash your hands. You need to cough and sneeze into your elbow. And if you are symptomatic, you need to remain isolated in your house. If you are non-symptomatic and do go out, please remember to spread out. Maintain that 2-meter physical distance from everyone around you. This is critical to preventing the spread. Let's keep going in this regard. And in addition, let's remember not to touch those high touch surfaces like water fountains or park benches. As we heard yesterday from Dr. Hinshaw and Premier Kenney, they have recommended wearing face coverings while in crowded spaces where you're unable to maintain that 2-meter distance. Until we have further information, we are encouraging the use of face coverings if tight spaces are unavoidable. Face coverings do not need to be commercially bought or made, and we've brought one along as an example for you today. This is a great example by Mask Makers YYC. Really simple to put on. You just pull, place over your nose and mouth, and tie behind your head. Quick reminder on these face coverings. These protect others from you, not you from others. So please do not rely on the face covering as the sole method for protecting yourself. You still need to wash your hands, you still need to spread out, and you still need to sneeze or cough into your arms. To those who have taken the right steps and actions so far, we're incredibly proud of all of the sacrifices that you've made. We all do this for a reason, and let's keep doing that. I know you'll have some questions about a few areas in particular, so I'll address some of those areas for you. Our teams are working hard to respond to the Alberta government announcement regarding golf courses. We know that many Calgarians are looking forward to the start of golf season. We're working hard to determine if and when and under what conditions we may open the public golf courses. Please watch the website for any updates here. Private courses in the City of Calgary will be making their own decisions and determining when it is appropriate for them to open. We've had some changes around outdoor recreation, and so we're very clear. I'm going to read a new state of local emergency order that's going into effect today regarding outdoor recreational activities. Whereas a state of local emergency was declared for the City of Calgary on March 15th, 2020 to address the COVID pandemic. And whereas the Local Emergency Management Committee authorized the Director of the Calgary Emergency Management Agency to exercise any power or function of the committee for the duration of the state of local emergency, including the authority to issue orders pursuant to Section 24 of the Emergency Management Act. It is hereby ordered, effective immediately. Number 1, Order 1503220-5, issued March 27th, 2020, is hereby rescinded. Number 2, the following facilities, whether located in city parks and other city property or on private property, closed pursuant to Order 1503220-5, remain closed. Playgrounds. 3, the following activities are prohibited pursuant to Order 1503220-5, remain prohibited on sports fields, play fields, and courts, whether located in city parks and other city property or private property. The playing of organized and team sports, including but not limited to football, basketball, baseball, cricket, lacrosse, soccer, doubles tennis, doubles badminton, doubles pickleball, field hockey, ball hockey, ultimate frisbee, lawn bowling, volleyball, and any other organized or team sport that the playing of which requires players to handle or touch the same ball or other device with their hands. The prohibition set out in Section 3-1 does not apply to members of the same household who engage in an organized or team sport. Despite Section 3, the following sports are not prohibited if play is modified so that participants will, number 1, not touch or handle the same ball or device, and number 2, maintain a 2-meter distance at all times, including the elimination of accidental contact. Golf, disc golf, singles tennis, singles badminton, singles pickleball, singles kayaking, and river surfing. For clarity, all persons must continue to follow any restrictions or requirements imposed by the Provincial Chief Medical Officer of Health, including the restrictions set out in CMOH 07-20 regarding the gathering of more than 15 persons in a group in an outdoor location and maintaining a 2-meter distance between people. We've changed a lot of rules to respond to COVID-19, and I'm now challenging you to reimagine how you can change some of the rules of your favorite sport that's been banned. To reiterate, you need to maintain that 2-meter physical distancing, and you need to avoid common touch areas. Please note that the Glenmore Reservoir is currently closed due to seasonal operations. This is regular seasonal operation for the City of Calgary, and this also means you may see some fluctuations in the river levels as a result of that operation. We have also confirmed with our partners in the province that the parking at Fish Creek Provincial Park will be open shortly. Take a moment and switch gears a little bit for you. Our weekly green cart will be starting again the week of May 19, just in time for some of that May long weekend yard work that you might be thinking about. We appreciate your patience as we work hard to maintain collection services for everyone as we've been dealing with COVID-19. You will see the Green Cart schedule update in your calendar online at calgary.ca/collection. If you sign up for free reminders or download the app, you'll automatically be notified of any schedule or service changes. Please make sure to fill your green cart first before setting out extra bags. If you have extra yard waste, fill up your paper yard waste bags, roll the top of the bags closed so your collector can easily pick them up. Prairie Winds Park, we've had some challenging around some of the signage at Prairie Winds Park, and City of Calgary staff have identified potential language barriers preventing some of the users at the park from understanding the messages and the importance of physical distancing. This was identified last Thursday, and by Friday evening, we had a team translate and create new signs in Punjabi and Urdu for this Northeast Calgary Park next to the communities of Castle Ridge and Martindale. We've seen a great response to this new messaging, including better physical distancing practices. So thank you for that, and thank you to those users in the park. The city created these 50 signs in each language so we can better serve you Calgarians and ensure public safety in every language and every community. Switching gears again a little bit for you. Canada Task Force 2 is one of 6 heavy urban search and rescue teams across the country and is also Alberta's all hazards disaster response team. Canada Task Force 2 has deployed a small incident management team, largely made up of volunteers, to assist Fort McMurray in their current response to the flooding. We are proud as a city and as a province to be in a position where we are helping our neighbors. Finally, on Monday, April the 27th, Council approved the application of the COVID-19 thank you ribbon on city vehicles to honor Calgary's frontline workers and essential services staff. These ribbons are currently in production, and Calgarians will see them soon on police units, Calgary Fire Department trucks, Calgary Transit buses and C-train cars, waste and recycling refuse trucks, and other city vehicles. I will now pass back to Mayor Nenshi.
Thanks very much, Sue. While you were talking, I made the terrible mistake of looking at the comments on the live stream. So I noticed that a number of people had questions. No, I am not going to go into more detail on the difference between massage therapists and body rub practitioners. You can figure that out on your own. There were some who took offense to my use of the term full-grown llama to talk about the distancing and said you ought to use more Canadian examples. So I will say a moose from antler to tail, or I'm told 4 beavers, including the tails. Anyway, the more serious question that people were asking, Sue just addressed, and I want to highlight it again, which is what about city playgrounds? So city playgrounds, skate parks, etc., remain closed. And the reason for that, and I know it's tough, and I've heard from so many parents who say, just open the playground, please. The reason for that is, one, they are high-touch environments. You touch the swing, you touch the ramp while you're skating, and so on. And number two, it's impossible to do contact tracing. So you heard from the Premier yesterday about things like summer camps and daycares, and we can say much more about that if people are interested. But the difference there is you know who's been there. You know whose kids your kid has been with. You don't know who's touched the playground swing or the skate park. And if we are going to reopen, we must be able to do contract tracing, which is a fancy way of saying any single time someone becomes positive, then we have to know every single person they've come into contact with. And you just can't do that in that kind of a situation. So for now, I'm sorry to say that playgrounds will in fact remain closed. I want to talk more about the province's relaunch strategy should there be questions on that. But I also want to talk about a couple of other things. So City Council yesterday had a full day meeting talking about the impact of the COVID crisis on the city's finances. And there's good news and bad news. The good news is that as we've sharpened our pencils, those numbers that I've been sharing in the past, 15 million a week up to 400 or 450 million over the course of this crisis in terms of a loss to the city, are probably a bit too high. We're looking at numbers now that look like, on a bad case, 235 million base case, but that doesn't include the Calgary Police. It doesn't include aid to nonprofit agencies, and it doesn't include any measure for people who might go out of business or not be able to pay their bills going forward. So 400 million is still an outside but realistic number. And so that's big money. And I want you to know that your city government has been working hard, has been working for many years very hard on managing economic development over this time. As you know, the city has been extremely financially responsible. Our property taxes are among the lowest in the country for residences and for businesses. In fact, the lowest in the country for most residences. And over the last couple of years, since the economic downturn, we found over $700 million in savings and efficiencies that have been returned to the taxpayers. Since I became mayor almost 10 years ago, we've cut more than $500 million in debt. So the good news is that versus other governments, we're actually in pretty good shape. We've got a strong balance sheet, which is a fancy way of saying we have some cash in the bank. We have run ourselves very well, and we have some capacity. But this is like nothing we've ever seen before. It will actually be impossible for us to be able to go forward without assistance from the provincial and federal governments. You know, some folks say, well, can you just cut costs to make up for that amount because you're not supposed to run a deficit at the end of the year? And I have to tell you this straight, that is impossible. For us to lose up to 10% of our entire budget in the span of a few months means that no cuts will get us there. No cuts will get us to that gap. 75% of our budget goes to police, fire, roads, and transit. If I were to cut the entire parks department, the entire recreation department, everything we do in arts and culture, and a whole bunch of enabling services at the city, we still wouldn't get there. And so clearly, we're in a situation where we need a new solution, and we need the federal and provincial governments who have debt capacity and who have the ability to borrow money at incredibly low rates right now, basically zero, to step in and give us a hand on that. I want to talk briefly about something that we launched today, which I'm really excited about, which is the successful recipients for Change Can't Wait. What is Change Can't Wait, you ask? It is 15 pilot projects that are designed to help people suffering from mental illness, to help people with mental health and addiction concerns. And thanks to our funding partners at the Calgary Foundation, the Calgary Health Trust, the Hunter Family Foundation, the United Way of Calgary Area, and the Viewpoint Foundation, we have the ability to start doing things quickly. And this is part of something I've been talking about for many years called transforming government. Moving government into a place where we put the citizen at the center of what we do, where we think systemically about what's happening to the citizen, and where we're not afraid to fail. So these are fast pilots. Instead of analyzing the heck out of them for years, we're just going to try them. Some of them will succeed beyond our wildest imaginings, some of them will be okay, and some of them will fail. And I need to reach out to you as citizens and say, give us permission to fail. Give us permission to do things wrong, because we're going to do a lot of things right. And that's really an example of all of this on an issue that's so important to all of us, because as you all know, 1 in 4 of us will be touched by mental illness in our lifetimes. Sue talked about the Glenmore Reservoir. You will see that the water levels on the Elbow River are fluctuating at the moment. That's what we do every spring. It's just a matter of getting the reservoir ready should there, God forbid, be flooding events. The new gates at the dam are operational, and that means that the dam will be able to hold a lot more water in those kinds of events. But for now, you want to keep the dam at low levels. You want to clear out any organics in there. And that's what we do at this time of year. There's no risk of flooding along the Elbow River from that work, but you will see the flows on the Elbow River go up and down, which of course takes me to flooding. And I'm still just, it's hard for me personally, but it's hard for all of us to think about what's happening in Fort McMurray and Mackenzie County right now. I'm so happy to hear that the water levels are receding and that the ice jams are melting. But we in Calgary know what it's like to go through that. And to go through that in the middle of a pandemic is unspeakable. And so we've offered all the assistance we can. We've got people up there in Fort McMurray now doing good work, keeping people safe and helping them with everything we know. And we have lost someone though, and I really do want to send my condolences to the community, to the family, to the friends, to the loved ones of the person that we've lost. So next week we'll talk more about Calgary's own flood preparedness. Right now there is nothing to worry about. So let's go back to the province's announcement on the reopening. When I spoke to you on Tuesday, I said that I was interested in being able to give some hope, to give a horizon, give people something to look forward to, and we got a lot of that yesterday from the Premier. I won't go over the province's announcement. By now, I trust you've seen their general outline for the strategy. So some parts of that strategy will be in place starting as soon as tomorrow. And starting next week, you'll start to see some dentists reopen, some other kinds of medical offices. Sue talked about golf courses. And right now, there is a thought that the next stage of opening might happen as early as May 14th. And as I said earlier, don't circle May 14th on your calendar as normal day. That is not really what's going to happen. First of all, the May 14th day is aspirational. The Premier was very clear that that's entirely based on how many cases we get, how many hospitalizations we get over the next 2 weeks. It's entirely requiring us to put out the new, not us, them, but for the community to put out new and much more rigorous contact tracing of people who get sick. But the number of cases that we see going forward is entirely dependent on our own actions. Now, you've heard me say this for weeks now. As the spring comes, as the sunshine gets a little warmer, I actually went out in my backyard and watered the lawn, which was a strange thing for me to do this week. We had a conversation yesterday about how lawn watering is the biggest use of water, and I laughed because, trying to keep some local businesses in business, I had some folks come over and do my spring preparation of my lawn, which I always forget to do. And the note I got back from them was, do you ever water your lawn? Because you might want to think about doing it from time to time. These roots aren't very deep. So I actually watered my lawn, and I know the point I'm trying to make, and there is one, is that as we get into the spring, as the seasons change, it's very natural for every one of us to think everything should be changing now, but we're not there yet. And while we are still encouraging people to get out, to get some exercise, to get some fresh air, we're not there yet. And so we need to even redouble our discipline so that we will be ready, so that the number of cases do go down, so that the province will be able to make some moves as early as May 14th. And I know a lot of Calgarians are wanting to return to shopping and dining at the businesses they know and love. We heard that this morning from our business sector task force. We heard a lot of optimism, but we heard a lot of questions. And I want to make it clear to businesses in particular, do what's right for your business. In some cases, that might mean not opening with the restrictions in place when the restrictions are lifted. In other cases, it may mean pivoting to something new. And I really want to tell business owners, we've got your back. Yesterday, Council made some major decisions on some short-term relief for businesses around business fees and permits and so on. And I was really pleased we were able to do that even in these difficult economic times. but we've got your back and we're there to help you. And if you want to pivot your business, we're there to help you. If you want to stay closed for a while, there are programs there to help you. If you think you're ready to reopen, then we're there to help you do that as well. And I hope that I'll have some announcements on that very, very soon as we move forward. But we did hear from business owners today something very clear. They want to do this right. They want to do right by their employees. They want to do right by their customers. They want to do right by their community. And I've never heard from a single business owner who tells me, I want to reopen and damn the consequences. What I've heard from every single one of them is we want to be back in business. We want to be doing what we love. We want to be with the customers that we love, but we want to do it exactly right in order to remain safe. So we're going to continue to work with the province to gain clarity around these regs. There's some light at the end of the tunnel, but the tunnel requires some traversing, and that means we've got to work with it. So the things that I have talked about have not changed. The need to stay vigilant, the need to be disciplined, the need to make sure that we're working hard not to pass this virus. So those three things are still in place. Clean hands. Do everything you can to prevent the spread of the virus. Clear heads. Don't let frustration or anger or sadness or now hope and optimism cloud your thinking. Every single decision we have to make has to be purposeful, and it has to be made in a way that will preserve the wealth, the health, and the safety of all of our neighbors. And open hearts. Even now, especially now, as parts of the economy may start to reopen, there's still a lot of people who will feel isolated, who will feel left out, that's not part of their world that's going on. So yes, my friend who loves golf will be able to golf, but I who love pickup basketball will not be able to. So that open hearts piece, the reaching out to people, the reminding people that they're in a community together is more important than ever. So with that, David, you just want to take questions or do you want to make a statement? Okay, so with that, we'll just go to questions. So operator, if you could open the line, please, and we will take the first question now.
Our first question comes from Madeline Smith of the Calgary Herald. Your line is open.
Hello, I am going to have a question and a follow-up. So with the province rolling out this plan for reopening, could we be in a position where, the province says it's okay for these types of businesses to open on May 14th, but the city ends up saying no in Calgary? If you're a hairdresser, you actually can't. I know that the city had an order just shortly before the provinces, I think it was on the same day, closing all non-essential businesses. So are we in a position where we could sort of have that kind of conflict or uncertainty based on, how many cases we have in Calgary? It's more than 60%.
I'm never going to say never, Madeline. It is unlikely that we would make broad changes like that. Like if the province said hairdressers can open and we would say hairdressers cannot open, it's unlikely we would do that. We really are trying to work hand in glove with the province to say, let's make sure we agree on hairdressers. And so the example I referred to earlier was I actually think that registered massage therapists can probably be treated the same as physiotherapists, not the same as tanning salons, which is where they are now. And so those are the kinds of things that we'll continue to have discussions with the province on. Now, that said, the city also is an operator of some of these things. And the city, just as I said, businesses need to do what's right for them. The city needs to do what's right for us. So Sue gave the example of public golf courses. Golf courses will be able to operate over this weekend. That doesn't necessarily mean that the city will open its public courses. So first of all, when I talk about how many people we've laid off and lack of seasonal hiring, those are the people who prepare the golf courses. So no way, no how will they be ready by Monday, even if we choose to move forward. But the city also needs to understand its own policy. We operate public golf courses so that people who can't afford private or semi-private courses will have a place to golf. Many of the people who use public golf courses are seniors. So we have to ask ourselves from a policy perspective, even with all the restrictions in place, no clubhouse, no pro shop, no holes, there'll be a tin that you hit, no touching the flag, no ball washing, all of that stuff. Even with all of those things, could we, from a policy perspective, do we think that's the right thing to do? Do the benefits outweigh the risks? And also, we have to look at our own business financially. If we are cutting down to only 2 people, not a foursome, if we are staggering tea times, would we actually be able to operate these courses without a huge public subsidy? So these are the questions that we will be asking ourselves very thoughtfully, and we encourage all businesses to ask those questions as well. Another example for that, Madeline, is summer camps. If we still have a restriction of 15 people in a gathering and physical distancing must be maintained, it's going to be very hard for the city to operate the vast majority of our summer camps in that kind of a situation. Maybe there are, however, a few that might work, and that's exactly the analysis we're doing now. I answered way more than your question, but hopefully that was helpful, Madeline. You had a follow-up?
It's very helpful, yes. As well, this week we heard that there were some cases of COVID-19 in some city shelters. So where is that right now? Have there been further cases that you're aware of, further outbreaks that you're concerned about, and are you confident that as much as possible is being done to protect those people right now?
I'm not certain whether I'm authorized to share this news with you, but it's good news, so I'm going to share it, which is there have been over 400 tests of asymptomatic individuals between the drop-in center and the Salvation Army, and I'm very, very relieved and very happy to report that the case numbers in those places remain the same, that no one who was asymptomatic was found to be positive. And that is an extraordinarily, touch the ground and kiss the ground and thank God. That is an amazing thing, because I was very worried that we had a silent outbreak within the homeless population, and that does not seem to be the case at the moment. However, late breaking news, literally as we were walking in here, we heard about 2 more cases at a different homeless shelter, and so again we'll be doing the same thing, which is testing the asymptomatic folks and making sure there's no evidence of an outbreak. We also have good mechanisms in place to make sure that we're isolating anyone who is symptomatic and positive to try and prevent spread. So far so good. Fingers crossed, knock on wood, rabbit's foot, 4-leaf clover. Let's just hope that it stays that way, but we need to make sure that we're doing everything we can to protect that community, because an outbreak in that community would have devastating consequences both for the people who are affected but also for the healthcare system. All right, next question, please.
Our next question comes from Kevin Nimick of CTV. Your line is open.
The Stampede is cancelled, Kevin. That'll never get old.
Okay. Oh, well, that was my only question. Sorry. Just kidding. Hi, Mayor.
Hi.
Do you think that the province has set up businesses like salons and restaurants? Has it set them up for failure by giving unrealistic opening dates and then presenting those to the public?
I think we have to, it's an excellent question, and I think we have to think about it both ways. I know that provincial officials were worried that citizens would be mad at businesses for opening, even if they were opening within the rules. And then the question you're asking is, will citizens be mad at businesses that don't open? And my real message to everyone is, do what's right for you. If you feel as a hairstylist that you don't feel safe doing it, don't reopen. If you feel that you can put the right measures in place to keep everyone safe and you're happy to open, open. If you think it's going to take you a month, not 2 weeks to get there, that's totally fine. We don't want anyone to feel that I got to get in there quicker, my competition is going to eat my lunch, that I got to get in there before I'm ready. Don't. Think of yourself as being safe. I got asked, the single most common question I've been asked since 4:30 yesterday is, Mayor, what do you think? What would you do? And my advice to everyone is, keep acting the way you're acting past May 14th. If you don't have a burning desire to go out in the community and go shopping at a bookstore, don't. The books, order locally from a local bookstore and do it online and do the curbside pickup. Because really, together as a community, we have to balance off the needs to reopen with the needs for everyone to feel safe. And so I really am reaching out to business owners saying, this permission is not a requirement. Do what's right for your business. Do what's right for the safety of your employees and your customers as you define it. Do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on the point of help from the federal and provincial levels of government. To what degree does the city need help, or what specifically would you like to see them do, and how quickly do you need help?
Well, the single best thing that we need is a check from those orders of government that covers the $400 million gap. Now, we could be a little more specific about that. So, for example, a program I would encourage both other orders of government to do would be, for the first time ever, to subsidize transit. You know, we run our transit on our own back. It's half property taxes and half the fares that people pay. So I would love to see a temporary program that would subsidize the operations of transit, because right now we have 100,000 people riding transit every day and they have to ride it. They're essential service workers going to work. But we cannot run the system for 100,000 riders without a huge loss. That's an 80% drop from normal. And so that's one very specific program that I would like to see. But ultimately, different cities have different needs. And so one size fits all programs are not going to work. Here in Calgary, we need operating support for transit. We need overall financial support for our budget. We need a real investment in major infrastructure that will help us with economic diversification. And we need an investment in overall economic development and resiliency for Calgary. And so those are the things I'm asking for. To back up a little bit, I realized that I just jumped into something without giving the context. We have 5 broad categories of advocacy: aid to vulnerable citizens and nonprofits, aid to businesses, aid to municipalities, infrastructure to get the economy going again, and aid to help Calgary build a more resilient economy. So we're working through really all of those at the same time. Okay, next question, please.
Our next question comes from Tom Ross of 660 News. Your line is open.
One question and a follow-up as well. I spoke to the mayor of Canmore today, John Broman, and he was worried about this relaunch strategy. And particularly, he's worried that with some parks reopening, it's just going to send a flood of people into the area, even though non-essential travel is still not really permitted through this stage. So what kind of message do you have for Calgarians who, again, may be itching to go out and hit up the parks and go into areas like Canmore and Banff?
Thanks very much, Tom. I was tempted to attack you for asking that question, but it's because it's Friday and I'm being silly, but I'll answer the question instead. So that was an inside joke for those who follow media here in Alberta. Yeah, so Mayor Behrman's been very, very clear that Canmore is closed, that they love their visitors. They love to have them, but right now, no, they just cannot handle any visitors. So I would suggest, as parks are reopening and parking spaces are reopening, you have to be good. You have to go to places where there are not other people. If your favorite hiking spot's parking lot is totally full, drive to another hiking spot. Be self-sufficient. Take in what you need, take out what you need. Don't expect that you're going to stop for dinner or so on in these towns, because they just can't handle it. Now, I don't know physically whether there will be people turning folks back, which we have seen in the past, but ultimately, if you want to get out to get some fresh air in the mountains, they are here in the Badlands on the other side. Be self-sufficient, go there, come home. Do you have a follow-up, Tom?
Yes, I do. A bit of an unrelated topic as well. I didn't see any specific mention about libraries in the provincial announcement yesterday. Do you have any insight on that, if the public libraries are going to open up anytime soon?
Not yet. Not yet. The challenge with the public libraries is the same problem that I mentioned with the playgrounds: contact tracing and touchable services with lots of children. So I would love to open the libraries. Not yet. I'll remind folks that the library has pivoted to online programming like you would not believe, not just signing out ebooks and audiobooks, but really unbelievable things. And if I can give a plug for myself, I did my first virtual story time at the library with Mayor Nenshi. Story time at home, there are 5 of them coming, but the first one's been released, and I enjoyed listening to myself read Where the Wild Things Are, so you can put your kids in front of that and read that as well. All right, next question, please.
Our next question comes from Sammy Hudis of Post Media. Your line is open.
Hi there. Just a bit of a follow-up on the last question about parks. I was kind of wondering more on the Fish Creek side, since that's a provincial park in the city where vehicle access will now be allowed.
I'll let you take it.
Hello?
Deputy Chief Henry's going to take your question.
Thanks. Just wondering about potential overcrowding at Fish Creek, if that's a concern at all. And is the city looking for caps on the number of cars or people that would be allowed in lots at provincial parks from the province?
So we have been working with our partners in the province around Fish Creek because obviously Fish Creek is within our boundary and it causes some challenges back and forth for us. We do know that the parking area at Fish Creek is expected to open either later today or tomorrow. The washrooms and facilities there will remain closed. There will be conservation officers from Fish Creek Park patrolling the park itself. And we're asking Calgarians to remember to be a good neighbor and to park properly and to do the physical distancing and be a good user of that park. Any follow-up on that one?
No, thank you.
Next question, please.
Our next question comes from Scott Dipple of CBC. Your line is open.
Hi, Mayor. Just wondering if you could take us through a bit more of the mechanics of what it would take for the city to reopen some or all of its golf courses, just in terms of some of the grousing that you see online from people about why does it take the city longer to reopen than private courses, and even some members of council are saying these courses that in whole or in part should be open as soon as they're able to.
So that really is there is a policy question here, because I will tell you that I have heard from many members of council today, and some are saying do not open them no matter what, and some are saying why weren't they opened yesterday as soon as the premier stopped talking. The answer here is really straightforward. We laid off 10% of our workforce, and the folks that we laid off and the folks that we didn't hire seasonally are the folks who would be doing this work. And so when you lay people off, they're not there anymore. You know, I actually had someone who is a huge fiscal conservative contact me recently and say, I need some books from the library. Can you get those for me? And I said, here's the thing. When you shut down a service, you actually shut it down for everyone. And those are the trade-offs that we have to make. So ultimately, we have had a skeleton staff maintaining the golf courses, making sure that they would be ready to open if necessary. However, the new rules that are put out in place actually require some changes to how the courses work. And I'm not a golfer, so I don't know all the technical things, so I'll use the untechnical answers, which is instead of a hole, there's something that you hit. And so you have to go and install those. I know there's only 18 of them, but there are a whole bunch of things that you have to do through the course to make it work, as well as preparing the greens, which we would normally be doing at this time of year anyway. So from the very practical perspective, all that stuff needs to get done before we can open. It's not happening over the weekend. We have to hire people and we got to do the work in order to do that. But as I also said, there is a policy decision to be made by city administration on whether this is the right thing to do or not. And I'm not going to presuppose what the answer to that question is, but I want to give them the time and space to actually have that conversation. But, you know, if it is decided that it's the right thing to do, we'll move very, very quickly and be ready to open them just as soon as we can. All right.
Okay, and just to quickly follow up on that, given the reopening, the stages that were announced by the provincial government yesterday, other than golf, and I don't know what the numbers associated with that might be, do you see any sign of the city bringing back some of the employees that were laid off?
No. Other than golf, there might, and in golf, those were mostly seasonal employees who were not hired, as opposed to people who were let go. But no, there was nothing in that announcement that says today we would actually add anything back. David, did you want to add to that, or okay? All right, next question, please.
Our next question comes from Crystal Dow of Global News. Your line is open.
Hey guys, so I'm going to need a follow-up too. Just wondering, would the city consider, I guess, implementing stronger regulations before that May 14th relaunch date if it seems we're not following the rules? I mean, the rules are pretty strict, but would we consider having stronger rules in place?
Look, we're still under a state of local emergency here in Calgary. Chief Sampson, Deputy Chief Henry have quite a bit of authority, and we are watching the situation carefully day by day by day. We haven't had any questions today, first time in a long time, on enforcement, but we continue to enforce the rules that are in place right now. And if we need to clamp down more, we will clamp down more. But let me remind people that there are two critical rules. critical rule number 1 is a moose length apart. You must continue that physical distancing. All right. Rule number 2 is that where gatherings are absolutely necessary, those gatherings may not be more than 15 people, and those 15 people may not include anyone over 60. They may not include people with pre-existing conditions. And so, you know, I've said before that you should stay home unless you're doing 5 things. I think that's still true now. You know, we're moving to a message that says stay safe more than stay home. But as we go into this nice weekend, I will repeat, it's best to stay home. And if you're not home, you should be doing one of 5 things. You should be working. If you're providing an essential service, you're still at work. You should be shopping, doing your weekly shop. We prefer one member of the household to do that, to be doing curbside pickup from local businesses or takeout. You could be volunteering to help someone who is isolated or who needs help. You could be outside within your cohort group, within your family, physically distanced from others, getting fresh air and exercise, going for a walk or a jog or a bike ride. We still prefer you to stay in close proximity to your own neighborhood. You could have a brief, number 5, you could have a brief socially isolated visit, especially with someone who's isolated. You can go stand at the end of the driveway. You can drop off cupcakes. Do not share food or drink while you're doing that. That's okay. I wouldn't make that like Saturday night at my friend's house all night, having a bunch of beers and swearing we're going to stay 2 meters apart in the backyard. That's probably going too far. But brief socially isolated distances, visits are okay, and they should be outdoors, not indoors. And I'm going to add a number 6 today, wear a mask. It's not a mandate, it's not mandatory, but it's something that I would strongly consider doing. I feel like, Sue, I should tell them the analogy of what the mask does, which is posted downstairs. Do you think that would be appropriate or highly inappropriate? All right, here we go. So, imagine that you're not wearing any pants and you see your friend. This is a little more for men than women, but I think it works for both. And you pee. If neither of you are wearing any pants, you're both going to get wet. If you are wearing pants, then you will likely only make yourself wet, not your friend wet. But your friend who's still not wearing pants, if they pee, even if you're wearing pants, you're still going to get wet. What I'm trying to say, the mask protects others from you. It does not protect you from others. But if everybody's wearing pants, then it's much less likely that you're going to get wet with someone else's pee. I can't believe that I just did that. Okay. All right. So we'll have time for 1 or 2 more questions. Let's do 2 more. Operator.
Sorry, can I just get a follow-up on that
one?
one?
Go ahead.
Okay, sorry, and this is sorry, just changing gears. I'm just asking for a colleague, but can we get just your reaction to the announcement on banning assault-type rifles, Mr. Dunshee?
You know, I have not had a chance yet to really look into the mechanics of that decision, but mayors across the country have been worried about urban crime, and particularly urban crime committed by guns. And I stand with people like Mayor Tory in Toronto who are saying we need stronger restrictions. And though Calgary remains a very safe place, the amount of gun violence in the city has gone up to unacceptable levels. And so it really is important for us to stand in favor of these kinds of strong restrictions. You know, the Liberal government, before they were elected, suggested they might leave it up to every city on whether to have a ban or not. That is a terrible idea. These decisions have to be taken on the national level, so I'm pleased to see some of those decisions being made this week, and I'm sorry and angry that it took yet another horrible tragedy to cause action to happen. We should have been able to do that before that. Okay, so we'll take one more question, please.
Our next question comes from Madeline Smith of the Calgary Herald. Your line is open.
Hi, snuck a second one in. I do have a question about enforcement, actually, and
we almost got through a hole. I'll bring up Chief Henry.
So my question is about actually the sort of future, and we're not totally sure, if May 14th is the day we'll be able to reopen things or what's going to happen. But how will the city deal with when more businesses are open and they're going to be under some further restrictions, and it's sort of unclear what those might be. I'm not sure if it might be, if you're a hairdresser, you can only have X amount of people. I think in restaurants it's sort of the half the capacity rule, but how is the city going to be monitoring the compliance of that, given the big task that's going to present?
And right now we're waiting for the province to tell us what some of that extra guidelines and governance will be. So really we don't know what those regulations will be for the businesses that are able to open. We do have an incredible team here at the City of Calgary that responds from the landscape of education first, and we will move to enforcement in those circumstances when it is required.
Will it be like a joint effort with bylaw, AHS, CPS potentially in sort of trying to educate people and potentially hand out fines if it's warranted?
And that's exactly what's happening right now. We have a joint effort between bylaw, between Calgary Police Service, between Environmental Public Health and Alberta Health Services to make sure that we are able to enforce these rules when needed. Anything further? Back to your worship.
Right. You've made Mr. Duckworth so lonely today, folks. David, did you have anything you wanted to add? All right. We'll take one final question and then we'll wrap. Operator?
Our final question comes from Scott Dipple at CBC. Your line is open.
I just wondered if there are any details of any further road closures, particularly out in the quadrants.
Same message as in the past. We're monitoring bottlenecks very carefully, and we will react as needed to make sure that people have enough social distancing. All right, so...
Okay, so no change from last weekend?
Sorry, Scott?
No change from last weekend?
I believe there will be some new roads open this weekend, but as always, I won't tell you where they are because we are not encouraging people to go there. They really are reactively addressing bottlenecks. So this has been, just to wrap up, I'll say that this has been a difficult week for the country. Certainly all of our hearts sank when we saw 6 brave soldiers missing or lost, seamen and women this week. And it does feel sometimes like what more could happen? But ultimately, I look at the spring sunshine, I look at the buds coming out on the trees, and I say to myself, still, as the whole world goes through this together, there is nowhere in the world that I would rather be than here. There's nowhere in the world that I would rather be than in a place where people are compassionate and thoughtful, where we act out of love and kindness, not out of self-interest, and how we work together to get through this the way we always do, together. So remember, clean hands, clear heads, open hearts. Stay home if you can to protect those who can't. Be kind to everyone always, and together we'll save lives. Have a good weekend, everyone.